Hi everybody, it's Dr. Dan coming from the Balancing Center in Chicago, and we're here today to talk about the support techniques that we use here at the Balancing Center. You know, we have our triangle, the balance, support, and integrate, and we balance the spine by getting the head on straight. But there are a couple techniques, the bioenergetic synchronization technique, the neuroemotional technique, global energetic matrixing, and those all came out in sort of the late 80s. And as I had left my initial practice, which was strictly NUCA, and opened the first balancing center, I started to uncover and practice and explore these techniques that were working with the mind body and the neuroemotional connections and the traumas and the dramas and the histories and the mysteries as I've evolved to talk about it. So something can happen in the past, either a physical trauma, an emotional trauma, a mental trauma, and it can get locked in the body. The example I give for that is, have you ever seen an angry person walking down the street? You can tell from half a block away, and we actually go to the other side of the street so we don't have to encounter them and be the next person they're angry about. So traumas, dramas, histories, and mysteries can get locked into the body. And if the body was already out of alignment and then it locks in something else, it's hard for the body to let those things go, because as it goes back into it, it's a traumatic memory or a charged emotion that has something that wants to keep you away from it. So the neuroemotional technique, the bioenergetic synchronization technique, and a few others at the time just seemed to roll out in the late 80s, the mid to late 80s, and perfectly in timing for me to develop the work that I did as I opened the first balancing center. So one of the ways we do it is there's different points, you know, like batteries in a game or a toy or an appliance, and all the positives should be up, all the negatives should be down. And sometimes the body makes a lock or gets shifted into a different position and the energy is not flowing right. And it's not enough to kill us, it's not enough to maim us, but it's enough to make us work harder. And then sometimes people are stuck in an emotion. You know, every time something happens, they're angry. Every time there's something happening, they're like afraid. So we want to have people responding to the environment in present time responses so that they can live their life as free, healthy, balanced, integrated as possible. So using these techniques, usually I'm looking for changes in leg tension and changes in leg length. It's different than when you lay down and I tell you turn your head and everything works better with your head one way or the other. That's when we know that the upper cervical work needs to be done. There's other things we do, and we do some physical adjusting. But a lot of what we do in the meantime, the cream between the cookies, is this neuroemotional and mind-body and neuroemotional technique, the bioenergetic synchronization technique, global energetic matrixing. There's a whole bunch of people that I studied with over the time, Dr. Mortar, Dr. Walker, and they were pioneers in the late 80s of talking about the energy and the responsiveness of the mind-body and the neuroemotional connections. And over the years, with putting it in along with my spiritual beliefs about the mind, the emotion, the unconscious, the subconscious, and how they all work together to manifest in the body. And if we bring the frame balance, then we don't have the issues with the structural neuromechanical level. But the mind body, the neuroemotional, the unconscious, the subconscious, and traumas and dramas, and we know people and we can see people walking down the street. There's the angry person walking down the street, and there's people that we move to the other side because we're just going to be the next person they're spewing at. So when you come into the office and we're using the leg check and we see something tighten up and we check for which circuit, and if you know you have certain issues, sometimes a lot of you I've worked with where we actually say, okay, think of losing your job, think about the divorce, and we can, you know, it's just like, which trauma do we want to work on first? And there is a priority and an order to things sometimes that even comes up. So it's just a game for me. I'm not attached to the meaning. Most of the times when I have people think about something, I don't even want to know what it's about, because it's A, none of my business, and B, it's not about the story. And that's another thing that was in the late 80s and 90s where we started to look at like, well, am I just running my story or am I running my life? And it's really interesting when I have people that have several things going on. They're in a divorce, they just lost their job, and they're impending bankruptcy. And I can have them think about one, think about the other, and then we know which one we're going to address first. Because in a recipe, if you're making cookies or if you're baking something, something has to go in first before the other. So that helps go back to the concept of priority. And at the Balancing Center, Dr. Bennett and myself and all the people that work here know that we want to address what's in priority first. Just because something's tight doesn't mean we want to loosen it. Because if it's tight because you're holding a pattern, or if it's tight because you're out of alignment, or whatever the reason, we want to get to the reason. We want to update the program and create resourcefulness, resiliency, agency, adaptability. And if we hit something that just won't let go, then we find out where it's connected in the body, and using the neuroemotional technique, the bioenergetic synchronization technique, and they've become just our technique at the office here, because I don't claim to be doing any of those techniques, but I love to give recognition and appreciation for the roots of what gave me the foundation to build the support and integrate and support the balance integration to create better leverage, connection, and resource and agency in your body, so that you can respond to the demands and the issues of the past, of the present, and also the future. So I hope this helps you understand the integrative nature of the practice here, and we're off to a really good year. I know that there's a lot of things going on, but I think it's going to be a fantastic year. People are becoming very centered, people are becoming very focused. We're all working with each other to get through this, and certainly send my blessings. Thank you so much.